I'm Keith. I work for a general company as an employee. I'm not really on a fast track to promotion, but I do my job reasonably well. I'm about to turn 40. However, my love life is completely non-existent. I've become accustomed to living alone. I did have normal relationships when I was 20, but nothing really worked out, and after I turned 30, I sort of gave up. My focus shifted more toward my work, and before I knew it, I was almost 40. I don't particularly mind being single, but I do hope to have a family someday. I'm living quite casually, but my parents, especially my mom, worry about me being single. My mom keeps telling me, "It's high time you think about getting married." Thanks to my sister and her husband, who have 3 children, my parents aren't expecting me to get married and show them grandchildren, but they do wish I had someone by my side. Concerned that I show no signs of such companionship, my mom offered, "If you're not going to find someone, there's this matchmaking proposition. How about it?" But honestly, I don't like matchmaking meetings. A few years back, I agreed to one thinking it would be a new experience, but I didn't like the forced atmosphere, and since then, I've been refusing every time, saying I'd find someone on my own. So, I refused this time too, but my mom persisted. "You're turning 40, you know. If you keep this up, you'll be alone forever. Being able to live alone might be good, but having someone special is wonderful, don't you think?" She kept insisting, and wouldn't drop the subject. She was so persistent that I ended up lying. "I do have someone. Well, we're not talking marriage or anything yet, so I didn't want to get your hopes up. I was planning to tell you once things were more settled." Hearing this, my mom was overjoyed, insisting that she wouldn't believe it until she sees her. She seemed elated with the prospect of me having a girlfriend, and expecting me to bring her over sometime. I found myself saying, "We haven't discussed marriage, so as long as you don't mention unnecessary things." It was a spur-of-the-moment lie, but my mom is really looking forward to it, constantly asking when is she coming, through emails and calls. I shouldn't have lied. Opening my email during my lunch break at work, there was another message from my expectant mom. "I'm in a bind," I unintentionally muttered. With a heavy sigh and my eyes closed, Michelle spoke to me. "What happened? You look distressed. Did you make a mistake?" Michelle is a junior colleague I often team up with. She's beautiful and has a bright and refreshing personality, and she's very competent, a reliable person. We don't usually share personal stories, but hoping for a laugh, I shared my situation with her. I accidentally said I have someone, and my mom got really happy. This is troublesome. Scratching my head and giving a powerless ha-ha, I tried to laugh it off. Michelle laughed too. "What are you doing?" But looking at her, I had a naughty thought. Well, that would be too much, wouldn't it? What I was thinking inadvertently slipped out. "What is it?" She laughed. "For a moment, I thought maybe you could pretend to be my girlfriend, but no, it's just a joke. I do have some crazy thoughts, don't I?" I apologized and laughed, expecting her to laugh it off and scold me for the joke. But instead of laughing, she began to think aloud. Thinking that perhaps my joke had gone too far, I decided to apologize sincerely and was about to speak when, "It's fine. Shall I go as your girlfriend?" she said with a smile. I emphasized that it was just a joke, but she went along with my idea. On the day I was supposed to introduce Michelle to my parents, I went to my parents' home in the morning. There is a station within walking distance, and I am supposed to pick Michelle up from the nearest station around 3 p.m. Apparently, she used to live around here and insisted that she didn't need to be picked up, but of course, I couldn't allow that. My mom, in front of me, who came home alone first, is looking excited and happy. "I wish the time would come sooner," she said, her smile never fading. Then, she nudged me with her elbow. "Don't you have a picture of her or something? You'll see her when she gets here," I replied. "But I can't focus on my work, I'm so curious." "You have one, right? Come on, show me," she said, peeking into my phone. All right, all right. I pretended to select a photo, but there were no photos of us together. It was unexpected. I need to find something. Frantically searching my phone, I remembered a photo taken at a social gathering which had been sent by a colleague. I edited the photo to make it look like I had taken it of her. When I showed it to Mom, she exclaimed, "Oh my, she's beautiful." But the next moment, but I feel like I've met her somewhere. I thought she must be mistaking Michelle for someone else, but then Mom exclaimed, "Ah, wait a minute, Keith. I think I might have met her before." She began her story. Mom had an accident a few years ago. She was riding her bike safely, but she fell over trying to avoid someone who suddenly appeared. The first one who rushed to her, asking, "Are you all right?" resembled Michelle. She immediately called an ambulance and my dad. Amidst the panic, she kept saying, "The ambulance will be here soon." She gathered Mom's belongings and handed them to the paramedics, staying until the ambulance left. Later, Mom wanted to properly thank her but couldn't find any leads and didn't get the chance. Looking at Michelle's photo, she said excitedly, "It has to be her." When it was time, I went to pick up Michelle from the station. On our walk home, I apologized to Michelle, "Sorry about today." Michelle cheerfully replied, "It's fine. You always help me out. Do you want me to be myself, or should I act like a good girlfriend? You can choose now," Michelle offered with a laugh. "I guess, act like a good girlfriend," I tried. "Like this," she said, making various gestures and poses to make me laugh. Soon, we arrived at my family home. "This is it," I said, and she stopped walking, looking surprised. "Wait, this place," Michelle muttered. I thought she was surprised it wasn't a regular house and explained, "Yeah, we run a diner. The back and upstairs are living spaces. Come on in." When we opened the door, my parents greeted us with, "Welcome. I'm sorry, is it okay to sit in the diner? Sorry for this inconvenience. Isn't it better in the back room? It's not decent for a beautiful young lady." Mom and Dad began fussing, but Michelle said, "It's fine here." We sat facing each other, but no one's gaze met. Mom was looking at Michelle, Michelle at Dad, and Dad was smiling at both of us alternately. However, Dad realized that Michelle was staring straight at him. Dad and I were puzzled. Then Michelle spoke up, "Excuse me," addressing to my dad. "Excuse me, before greetings. Do you remember me?" Dad started to think, Michelle intervened quickly. "You helped me once before," and she started to relate the incident. Michelle, when she was a new employee, used to live in an apartment a bit ahead of this diner. On her way back from work, she was sure a man she didn't know was following her from the station. She was being stalked around that time. She noticed that he was unusually close and scared. She started to walk faster but felt the sound of his footsteps coming closer. While she was wondering how far she should run, almost in tears, she saw my dad, just as he was closing up the diner. So, Michelle asked my dad for help. Dad hurriedly let Michelle inside the diner and went outside to confront the man who was probably approaching. The moment they made eye contact, that man ran away. Dad promptly called the police and protected Michelle until they arrived. My mom was out, working another job at that time, and couldn't be reached. On relatively quiet nights, she was working as a cashier at a local supermarket. Later, the stalker was caught, and Michelle quickly moved to a new apartment. Once, Michelle and her parents visited the diner to thank my parents, but my mom was out again, so she hasn't met Michelle. After expressing their gratitude, they all enjoyed my dad's signature meals and left. Hearing this story, Dad remembered. "I told you right. It's the girl from that time," Dad, a bit excitedly, said to Mom, but hearing this, Mom got even more excited. "Really? Oh wait, I think I've met you too. Wasn't it 5 years ago? When I fell off my bike and couldn't get up?" Mom started telling Michelle about the incident. "That time, I remember. It was me. I was walking down that street for work. Michelle also shared her side, confirming the consistency in their stories. I was also surprised. I was so stunned by the unexpected turn of events and I couldn't say a word. The four of us looked at each other and almost laughed by this coincidence. Eventually, the conversation grew but had to end after about an hour due to the preparation for the diner's night shift. We had a great time. My parents walked Michelle to the entrance with a smile, saying, "Come again." And I decided to take Michelle to the station. "Thank you so much for today. Sorry to ask you being a replacement. It was helpful." As I expressed my thanks, Michelle also thanked me again and said she had a good time. And I was quite helped by her conversation skills. You managed to keep up with my parents' conversation well. You know, when they asked, "What do you like about me?" I told them not to ask unnecessary things. Sorry if that put you on the spot. Then she said, "I wasn't bothered at all. Besides, what I like about you is my true feeling," with a shy smile. Really, a bit taken aback, I hear. You are kind, reliable, and you never raise your voice or get mad. I respect you, Keith. I even think you're pretty cool, as Michelle continues. Suddenly hearing such things, I didn't know how to respond and mumbled, Is that so? Thank you," awkwardly. Watching me fumble my words, Michelle chuckled. Michelle laughed and said, "When we meet in casual clothes, it feels different." I felt Michelle's cheeks were a bit red. While I was thinking about it, Michelle looked back at me. "I might not be able to say this when I see you at work, so I'll say it now. I'm interested in you, Keith." We were just at the ticket gate. I stopped and said, but Michelle said, "See you," and with a smile, quickly passed through the ticket gate. Before she disappeared from view, she turned around and waved at me with a smile. I was left in confusion. No way, I mean, such a thing. She is about 10 years younger than me. And there's no way such a beautiful girl would like someone like me. But was she implying that she likes me? It wasn't clear that I was muttering to myself or just thinking inside while I was heading to my parents' home. Arriving at my parents' home, when Mom saw me, she said, "What a good girl, take good care of her." However, still in turmoil, I could only reply, "Yeah," in a disheartened tone. "What are you daydreaming for? Oh, Keith, you're leaving soon, right? Take some side dish with you, I'll prepare them." Mom was saying something like that, but my head was filled with thoughts of Michelle. The next day, when I saw Michelle at the office, I couldn't look straight at her because the previous day has been on my mind. She, as always, greeted me cheerfully saying, "Good morning." Me, on the other hand, with my mind awhirl with fresh feelings of romance, kept looking up at the sky or at my computer screen, obviously scattered in my concentration. Before I knew it, it was time for field work, and I came to my senses at her energetic voice saying, "Keith, let's hit the road." I wondered if it had been a dream, seeing her interact normally, while I drove to the clients. Similarly, to my mental state, the sky gradually filled with looming rain clouds. And just as we arrived at the client's doorstep, a sudden, torrential downpour began. Unaware of the impending bad weather, and with both hands full of promotional goods, I had come out of the car without an umbrella. By the time we finished the work and were leaving, it was only drizzling, but the umbrella was still inside the car. Wondering what to do, Michelle said, "The rain is light, let's run to the parking lot," and she ran ahead. I followed her in a hurry, then suddenly, a scream, it echoed. Michelle was soaked. Because of the sudden rain, a truck had plunged into a puddle on the road, splashing muddy water all over Michelle. Quickly unlocking the car, we first got inside. "Geez, unbelievable. I was trying to avoid getting wet," Michelle exclaimed. Having watched the whole incident, I couldn't help but laugh out loud. I'm so sorry." Trying hard to suppress my laughter to apologize, laughter still slipped through. "This is not the time to laugh. Oh no." I looked for something to wipe with in a hurry and handed a towel to Michelle. I opened another bag of towels, and seeing how soaked Michelle was, I said, "You're really soaked," and began patting and drying around her shoulders. I quickly pulled my hand away, though. Sorry. It was probably inappropriate for a male employee to touch a female one. Despite the situation, I became flustered at my own actions. The earlier laughter had relaxed the tension, but I realized my heart was pounding. I hadn't noticed as I was in a hurry to dry her, but at a glance, her blouse was see-through from the rain. She seemed to realize this as well. "Want to see more?" she said to me with a mischievous smile. "You might catch a cold, so wear my jacket for now." I handed my jacket to Michelle, trying to stay calm. However, it was not possible in such a condition. As it was nearing evening, I decided to drive her home as she was. Remembering the earlier pounding of my heart, I didn't know what to talk about while driving her, and for a while, a silent time flowed. However, I couldn't help but think about what happened yesterday. About yesterday. I tried to start the conversation, but I was clearly nervous and stuttering. Feeling embarrassed and looking forward, I felt her gaze from the side. When we stopped at a traffic light, I looked sideways, and she was staring at me, waiting for the next words. "I mean, you said you were interested in..." "No, never mind, sorry." Right before I finished the sentence, I thought it can't be. Then, Michelle asked, "Can't you see me as a love interest?" I felt my heartbeat speeding up. "You mean, like, you like me?" When I asked, Michelle nodded slightly. "Keith, you're so insensitive. You never noticed that I had a crush on you. That's why I agreed to pretend to be your girlfriend. I wanted to experience being your girlfriend even just for a day, and your parents were nice, and seeing you off work made me like you even more." I couldn't believe what was happening and asked, "What part of me do you like?" I ended up asking Michelle the same question my mom had asked her. "I already told you, but maybe that's not enough. I like every part of you that I know." Michelle's frank confession made my face burning. Just wait a moment, let me park the car." I managed to calm myself down and safely reached her apartment's parking lot. I took a few more breaths and turned to Michelle. Will you be my girlfriend?" I asked Michelle. She smiled brightly and said, "Absolutely." That weekend, I took her out on a proper date and confessed my feelings again. I proposed to her and we got engaged. A year later, we were married. Until we announced it at work, no one realized we were dating, and many were quite surprised. Many envied me for marrying her, a woman who was the crush of many male colleagues. We sometimes visit my parents' home, and now it's a custom for us to eat my dad's meals. My wife loves my family's pork steaks. While watching her eat happily, I often feel a surge of happiness. My parents seem always happy being together, so I hope to maintain a good relationship with my wife, just like them. My wife also admires my parents as a couple. We're aiming to become a couple like them. How was today's story? Pressing the subscribe and like button will motivate us in our production activities. We're also looking forward to comments from everyone. See you in the next video.